Welcome back to the new week and new month. Alright, so today I'm going to start something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a series. I'll do this the first week or the first Monday of every month. What we're going to do, we're going to look at different types of spiritual paths, magical paths. We're going to look at for instance, we're going to have a look at Wicca, traditional Wicca, initiatory Wicca. We'll look into traditional witchcraft. We'll look into chaos magic, into ceremonial magic, and going into Thelema, Golden Dawn, etc., etc. So we're going to look at different paths, different traditions, individually each week, and then what I'll do, I'll give a summary, an idea of what to expect, what the following is, what the understanding is, what the teaching is, all of those things, and then give some book recommendations. So I'm not going to go into everything. That's practically impossible, and I'll show you why. Let's actually just shift the screen around and get me into the corner. Let me just push myself up here and then we can have a look. So this here is a list. Just get to it over here. This is a list of religions and spiritual traditions. Okay. Now, I think we can see how extensive this is. So it starts with Eastern religions, with different paths of Buddhism, and you can see how many paths there are. The Dharmic philosophical schools, Hinduism, all of the different paths within Hinduism, and it just carries on, and then we get to the Eastern Asian religions. So we haven't even gotten to the European, Middle Eastern religions. This list is just extensive. So if you do want to actually go through this individually, that's your prerogative. It's a crazy long list. I mean, look at it, it just keeps going and going, and we come to Judaism and Kabbalah, and all the different forms of non-rabbinic and rabbinic Judaism, historical Judaism, other Abrahamic faiths, like Babism and Baha'i faith. And then we go through the Zoroastrianism. Then we have the indigenous religions of Africa, so traditional African religions. Just the Bantu itself. Look at all this. It's crazy. It's insane. It's fantastic, but it's just, if we were to try and just discuss all of these individually, it would take more than a lifetime. Okay, so we're going to carry on. We've got Mesoamerican religions, Aztec, Maya. We've got the Pawnee. This is all the Native American stuff. Austroasiatic. I'm just going to carry on scrolling here. Just want to get down to, we've got the Indo-European. Can have a look at some in that. The Punjabi folk religion. But I want to get down to, we get to the new religious movements. And we get to, what I'm trying to find is the more neo-pagan, neo-Wicca, traditional Wicca. Come to modern paganism. Let's just we could have a look at that, I suppose. List of neo-pagan movements. We get to ethnic neo-paganism, Celtic neo-paganism, Hellenism, heathenry. These are the ones I'm going to be focusing on more. Cometicism. Let's have a look. We've got Christo-paganism, Christian Wicca, Church of All Worlds, Church of Aphrodite, Cochrane's Craft, which is traditional witchcraft, Druidry. Let's have a look. Neo-shamanism, powwow. We've got radical fairies. Santa Muerte, Strigaria, techno-paganism. We've got the Wiccan faith, Sue Wicca, which was Raymond Buckland's sort of avenue of British traditional Wicca. Celtic Wicca, Dianic, fairy tradition. We'll have a look at all of this stuff here. Let's have a look. So I think you get the idea anyway. There's just a ton of different paths and religions throughout the world. Just want to make sure this is still recording here. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look. Early movement, we've got Neo-Druidism, Hermetic Order of Golden Dawn, Thelema, Germanic Neo-Paganism, ethnic and cultural, we've got Germanic faiths. This is the Germanic and Teutonic, so we can have a look at some of these. We've got the Celtic faith, Druidism. Yeah, so I think what I'll do, I'll pick and choose, and it's not going to be in any specific order. It's going to be quite random. I mean, the Wicca, going into British traditional Wicca, all of the different forms of initiatory Wicca, the Celtic, the Saxon, the Dianic, the fairy, the Georgian, and then we have the, it says other Wiccan related. I wouldn't say this Cochrane Craft 1734 is Wiccan related at all. But anyway, so, these are the things we can have a look at. Are they Wiccan related? No, it's traditional witchcraft. You'll find it. Cochrane would be rolling around in his grave if you had to read that. Alright, so that's one thing. That's one list of things we're faced with when we're trying to have a look at different religions. I mean, we've got UFO religions, Western esotericism. We can definitely go into this, Hermeticism, Fraternity of the Inner Light, Illuminates of Thanateros, which is we've got Luciferianism, occultism, Rosicrucian, Satanism. We've kind of covered some of that, but we can have a better look at some of that stuff. Thelema, Theosophy, the Temple of Psychic Youth, which was Chaos Magic. Anyway, so that's one list. Okay, then what we have is, let me just find that page. There we go. Then we have isms. Okay, so this is a great list, 234 different isms. Now, this goes into philosophical, political, and moral doctrine, or belief systems. It does eliminate isms which are personal names like Marxism, Judaism, and things like that. So, when we talk about isms, we have polytheism, we have animism, we have all of these different isms and eistic paths and things like that. So this gives you an incredibly extensive look at all the different isms. And, this is why a lot of people get confused when they're trying to find out what path they belong to, because it's impossible. It really is. So this is why I don't like titles myself, because we're faced with all of this. But we'll have a look at some of this as well as we go. What is Wicca? Is it polytheism or is it duotheism? And things like that. So this is a good list to have a look at. This is the Frontistery. All right, I'll put these links in the description of this video just so you can go and have a better look yourself. But absolutism, doctrine of government by a single absolute ruler, autocracy. So that's more political. But we have, let's have a look. Agapism, ethics of love, based on agape. Agnosticism, doctrine that we can know nothing beyond material phenomena. Animism, attribution of soul to inanimate objects. You'll find a lot of faiths are actually animistic. Also remember that you don't necessarily stick to one ism. You can have, but you usually do have a variety of different isms. Like you are polytheistic and animistic at the same time, whereas some people are not animistic but they are polytheistic. So there's a combination of all of these isms, but they're interesting to look at. Bitheism, belief in two gods. Let's have a look. Cosmism, belief that the cosmos is a self-existing whole. Deism, belief in God but rejection of religion. Let's have a look. There's lots and lots of these isms. So another good list to go through and have a look at. We know what monotheism is, belief in only one God. See, this is interesting. You've got monotheism, which is a belief in only one God. Monotheletism, which is belief that Christ had only one will. So even within Christianity, you've got all these different isms as well. Monophysitism, belief that Christ was primarily divine but in human form. Monopsychism, belief that individuals have a single eternal soul. It's really interesting. Anyway, so I just wanted to show you those lists, just to kind of give you an idea of why I'm doing this, because we are faced with so many different choices, so many different paths, so many different traditions, that it becomes extremely difficult to figure out, where we actually want to go. One thing I do want to read for you is from this book here, The Horn God of the Witches by Jason Mankey. Unfortunately, it is not available on Scribd until August 23rd again. I don't know why they do this, because I actually started reading this book again. I've already read it. And then they take it away, and I don't know why they do that. But anyway, I did actually save a portion, or the bit that I actually wanted to read. So I'm just going to leave that on the screen, and I'm going to read the bit. It's from chapter 1, The Nature of Deity, and it's just the way he explains how different people, different paths, different traditions view this molding of how we view gods and goddesses and divinity itself, from one thing to another. And he explains it as being Play-Doh. So I just wanted to read this to you. This is in reference to the Horn God itself, but obviously this can apply to, it doesn't just apply to the Horn God, it can apply to all gods and goddesses, how we view divinity itself. Perhaps my favourite analogy for describing the Horn God involves Play-Doh. For those who have blocked out parts of your childhood, Play-Doh is a soft, easily sculpted and smooshed, putty-like material made primarily of flour and water. It's fun because you can build whatever you want out of it, and most of us have played with it at some point in our lives. Now, the Horn God is most certainly not Play-Doh, but how we use that substance often reminds me of how various individuals see and interpret him. There are some people who like to build very precise sculptures with Play-Doh, and in our analogy, perhaps they build models of Pan and Kurninos, with each figure being a solid colour. During that play, they are very careful not to let the two gods come into contact with each other, because the different colours of Play-Doh can't really be separated after that happens. When they are done playing, they put the different colours of Play-Doh back in their own specific containers so the colours don't bleed together. Then there are those people who like to use various colours of Play-Doh in the same sculpture, with the end result usually being streaks of blue or green running through a mostly red sculpture. This is how I used to create things when I was a kid. I didn't mind mixing my colours a little bit here and there, but I tried to keep them mostly separate. That was hard to do, and when I realized that there would be some mixing no matter what I did, I learned to live with it. When I was done playing, I tried to put things away as neatly as I could, but my red Play-Doh sometimes ended up with a slightly purple tint, or perhaps a vein of yellow running through it. Finally, there are always some people who are completely fine with letting all of their colours of Play-Doh mix together. The end result is usually a brown lump with perhaps a few colour streaks running through it. For some people, having all the colours mixed together is upsetting, but 4 cans of brown Play-Doh are still fun. You can still build whatever you want out of it, and you don't have to worry about keeping the different colours of dough apart. Not having to worry about messing anything up often makes play more fun. Besides, if you want a specific colour later, you can buy or make a new jar of it. Let me just make sure this isn't going a bit off track. The Horn God is a lot like Play-Doh. There are some people who prefer to work only with individual models, and when they are done, everything goes back to where it started. Then there are some who are okay with a little bleed through here and there, but mostly keep things separate. And finally, there are those who let everything mix together. The Horn God has worshippers who honour only specific deities, others who see those individual gods as somewhat mergeable, and those who see all of the Horn Gods in history as part of one big Horn God with very little separation. So I think you can see how different people view not just the Horn God, but all of the gods and goddesses and divinity itself in different ways. Some will keep the gods completely and utterly separate. They are their own individual entities, and you can't mix them together. Others will view it more in a soft polytheistic way. So you've got your polytheism, you've got your soft polytheism, you've got your pantheism, your dualism, your duoism, and there's a difference between dualism and duoism. There's actually Jason Mankey then goes on to briefly explain polytheism and soft polytheism, and then he terms the all gods are one god as billionity, which I found quite good. And then he goes into duotheism, energies, all these different ways of viewing these things. So it can get very confusing, and that's the main reason why I want to do this series is we'll have a look at each or different paths and traditions individually and separately, and then I'll give you some book recommendations or some websites you can go and have a look at information on these things, just to try and make things a little bit clearer. And again, you don't have to stick specifically to one ism or one traditional path. You can mix and combine, but as I've said in the past, which I'll keep repeating in the future, if you I prefer not to go down what we call the eclectic path, because that's just really cherry picking things that look pretty and sparkle without any consideration of the actual traditional path itself. It's better to look at things from a synchronistic point of view. So in order to do that, you need to completely immerse yourself in a particular path or tradition and get to know it thoroughly before you can then start integrating other things into it. But eventually you start molding your own path. And I think that's the most important thing, is understand the tradition that you are looking at that time. Immerse yourself in it so that you get to know it inside and out. Then when you know it inside and out, you move on to the next one, and you can then start molding them together to form your own path. But if you don't know each of them or multiples of them inside and out, you haven't completely immersed yourself in them, what you're going to start mixing together may not work, and you won't know it because you're not understanding what's going on. So it's very important to actually understand the traditions and paths and the isms that you are venturing down. So So we'll have a look at a deeper, more individualistic look at the different things. Alright, so that was just an intro I wanted to do today to explain what we're going to be doing moving forward. And I'll see you next week and next month for this particular series. Okay, have a good one. Until then, cheers for now. Bye bye.